This is the Garmin Forerunner 965. It is a brilliant piece of engineering. Titanium bezels, multiband GPS, maps accurate enough to find a specific pebble in the Sahara Desert. It is also a very expensive paperweight if you forget to do the one thing that was actually designed for: preload the bloody route. Now, I've done hundreds of trails. I'm the one usually lecturing people about hydration, proper layers, and having packed enough calories to power a small village. But today, a little bit of forgetfulness coupled with some inspired local trail markings led to a bit of a disaster. Let me tell you what went on and how we actually managed to hike away from the very thing we came to see. We started the day with a bit of a parking crisis. The main trailhead looked like a supermarket on Christmas Eve, so we had to nudge the car into a gap about a kilometer further down the road. It was only when I stepped out of the car that the realization hit me. No GPX preloaded on my watch. How could I forget this? Never mind, I'll just download it and sync it now. Yes, you know what else is not there besides a parking spot? Phone signal. So no signal, no data, absolute digital silence, which turned my watch into a nice titanium beveled bracelet. Right, we're moving, how bad can it be? And this was supposed to be a recovery day after the Pico Viejo climb. We knew the route was relatively easy and we fully expected the trail marking to do the rest. Here is the actual trailhead. The plan was the Chinyero double loop, a figure of 8, 16 kilometers, 500 meters of climbing through the Corona Forestal, one of the most remarkable forests on this island. Purple is the route we planned. Yellow is the route we invented. They share a section, yes, right up until the point where one of us, and I won't name names, but it was me, decided to go sightseeing in entirely the wrong direction. You'll see. This is the bark of a survivalist of the 2023 wildfire that scorched a big part of Tenerife. The many layers of bark are literally ash right now, and the core of the tree is very much alive. It's a funny thing, while the bark is a millfoil armor for the trunk, the long, soft elastic needles are actually flammable. They're the first to go, and through them the fire is spread from one tree to the next. Have a look at this, a miniature lava bomb, otherwise known as Huevo del Teide. It's significantly smaller than the massive ones you'll find higher up the slopes, but this one is in a rather strange spot. It's remarkably far from any obvious crater. Whatever eruption spat this out clearly did so with a bit of a grudge. At first glance I assumed this would be just a Samara Loop 2.0, and if you've seen that vlog you'll know what I'm talking about. But it isn't, not by a long shot, because the Canary Pines here appear to be on some sort of prehistoric steroids. I mean, look at the size of this one, he's like the Chewbacca of this bit of the forest. We've reached the first junction, the sort of place you'd generally expect to find an indicator or a map. Instead, you get an info board explaining how spectacularly fragile this area is. In Tenerife, the trails are all marked with a yellow and white band, regardless of where they're heading. The official who decided this seemed terribly confused by the notion of a blue dot, a yellow cross or a red circle. Their binary style is this: a double band of white and yellow is a trail, a white and yellow X is not. Evidently, this made the mess of forgetting to preload the course on my watch even worse. But setting aside the laconic approach to trail marking, we press on, because the forest at least has its act together. The trail is lined with stones winding through the trees on a carpet of fallen pine needles. Curiously ordered for a wild place. quiet, almost meditative, the kind of landscape that invites genuine reflection on the great mysteries of the universe, such as why don't they use more colors on the bloody trail signs in Tenerife? The double light sneaking through the canopy gives the whole place a quietly mystical quality. The Japanese have a word for this, komorebi, the interplay of light and shadow when sunlight filters through leaves. No other language bothered to come up with a similar word, which says something either about Japanese sensitivity to the natural world or everyone else's lack of it. To me, those long shadows striping across the pine needle carpet are worth their place in a dictionary. We keep on keeping on like oases, but I got distracted by the surroundings. Never mind, we're on the trail, or at least that's what this sign says. As we arrive in a spot where several trees are weeping sap and resin over their bark, the conflict between photographer brain and hiker body becomes rather evident. Taking my time to wander and perfect the shot, we missed the junction entirely and ended up on another trail without even realizing it. No indicator, and the trail is marked, yes, with a yellow and white band. My Garmin is silent as the decorative bracelet it is. If it had the route loaded, I'd have felt a buzz on my wrist, and a voice, sweet as an arrow to your neck, would have said, "Of course, not today." We arrive at the first moment of genuine doubt. This is clearly a dirt road, marked as a trail going one way, marked with X the other way. What do you mean why? Anyway, excellent question, no answer forthcoming. We continue with a raised eyebrow and a quietly sinking feeling because the landscape is changing too. The orderly pine forest lava is giving way to something altogether more hostile. Black, jagged rock, rough as a bad mood, like the ground itself was plowed up by something the size of a bus. Another thing we've noticed, we're heading directly towards Pico del Teide, which means we're leaving Chinyero behind, since Chinyero is to the west of Teide. This trail needs to turn left and soon, otherwise none of this makes any sense. It does not turn left. And we're still on the mark, still following the yellow and white band, hiking away from the very thing we came to see. The landscape becomes wilder and rougher, and we're starting to genuinely question our life choices. Because if we follow this marked trail to its logical conclusion, we'll end up on Pico Viejo, which we climbed yesterday, and which we have absolutely no interest in repeating. It also requires a permit we don't have. We're now 6 kilometers in, 400 meters of elevation gained, and we make the only sensible decision of the entire day. Turn around and go back to the car. The lesson, since you're presumably here to learn something, never hike without a preloaded route. Smartwatch, phone, Wikiloc, all trails, it genuinely doesn't matter which, as long as it isn't nothing. Phone signal is a luxury, not a guarantee, and the Muppet level trail markings as thoroughly documented today are not going to save you. To be fair though, it wasn't a disaster. The landscape was extraordinary, and even marching steadily in the wrong direction, the sight of Teide and Pico Viejo growing larger with every step was ultimately worth it. Something useful did emerge from all this. In about 2 weeks, I'll upload a complete guide video to hiking in Tenerife. Footwear, clothing, weather, particularities of Anaga, Teide Plateau and Teno, everything you need before you set foot on a trail here. And if you're after somewhere to start, the 7 must-do hikes video is right there, ranked by difficulty, and I promise the GPX is loaded on every single one. See you next time.